My name is Donald Cash. I have a very round face, a double chin that I have made peace with, and a gold tie that is always too tight. And 3 years ago, I did something that I am not proud of. I took $40,000 and I turned it into $11,000. That is not a rounding error. That is $29,000 gone in 18 months. If you have ever done something similar with your money, this video is for you. And if you haven't, watch anyway, because I am about to show you exactly how to avoid being me. By the end of this video, I am going to tell you the full story. Not the clean version, the actual version. What I bought, why I bought it, what happened, and what I did next. I am also going to show you the strategy that turned everything around. Not theory, real numbers, my actual portfolio, month by month. Because here is where I am today, 3 years later. Same double chin, same tight gold tie. But now, my investments pay me $1,400 a month. Without me doing anything. $1,400 every single month. Passive income. Stay with me. I will show you exactly how. Before the story, let me tell you who I am. Because I want you to understand, I am not a financial expert. I am not a certified financial advisor. I am a 53-year-old man who spent 26 years in middle management, saved money the boring way, and then, at 50, decided he was smarter than the market. He was not smarter than the market. I have a wife, 2 kids who are now adults and still somehow need money, a dog named Jerome. Jerome, by the way, has never lost money in the stock market because Jerome does not invest in individual stocks. Jerome is smarter than me. For most of my working life, I did everything right. I saved, I maxed my 401k, I lived within my means. By the time I was 50, I had about $400,000 saved across retirement accounts and a regular brokerage account. That is not a huge number, but it is real. It is mine. I worked for it. And then, in 2021, I made one decision that cost me more than I want to admit. It was the spring of 2021. Markets were going up. Everything was going up. My neighbor Greg bought a boat. A boat. Greg works in insurance. Greg has never struck me as a man who understands boats. But Greg had a boat. My brother-in-law called me in April to tell me he had made $60,000 in 3 months on something called options. I did not fully understand what options were. I still do not, if I am honest. But $60,000 in 3 months sounded like something I should be doing. So I started reading forums, YouTube, financial Twitter, and I convinced myself, thoroughly, completely convinced myself that I had identified 3 companies that were fundamentally undervalued. Company 1, an electric vehicle startup. The next Tesla, someone on Reddit said. Company 2, a biotech firm that had, apparently, revolutionary cancer research. Company 3, a retail company that was going to disrupt something. I forget exactly what. I put $40,000 into these 3 companies. $40,000 from my brokerage account in one afternoon. I felt good about it, confident, like I had done my research. By July, Company 3 had dropped 40%. I told myself, this is just a correction. Hold strong, diamond hands. I had seen this phrase online. By October, the biotech company announced their cancer drug had failed clinical trials. The stock dropped 62% in one day. 62% in one day. I remember exactly where I was when I saw that number. I was in the kitchen, making coffee. I stood there for about 4 minutes just looking at my phone, not moving. The coffee got cold. The EV startup, still technically alive, but down 78% from my purchase price. By the end of 2022, my $40,000 had become $11,240. I had lost 72% of my investment, $28,760. Gone. My wife found out. Not because I told her I want to be very clear about that. She found out because she saw the account statement on the kitchen table. I had forgotten to put it away. In hindsight, this was perhaps a subconscious cry for help. She looked at the number. She looked at me. She looked at the number again. And then she said, and I will remember this for the rest of my life, she said, "Donald, you lost more money than my car cost in 18 months on Reddit stocks." She was not wrong. And then she said, and this is the part I am actually grateful for, she said, "Fix it. Do not do that again. Fix it." And she left the kitchen. That was it. No lecture. No, I told you so. Just fix it. Honestly, that was more motivating than any financial book I have ever read. That night I sat down and I asked myself one honest question. What do I actually know about investing? The answer was uncomfortable. I knew how to save money. I knew how to max a 401k. I knew index funds existed and were generally considered good. What I did not know was how to pick individual stocks at all. I had confused reading about stocks with understanding stocks. These are not the same thing. So I made a rule, a simple, non-negotiable rule. No more individual stock picking, ever, full stop. Whatever I did next had to be simple enough that I could not outsmart myself. I spent about 3 weeks reading, properly this time, not Reddit, not YouTube comment sections, actual books. And something started to crystallize. The investors who consistently built wealth were not trying to find the next big thing. They were collecting income, quietly, consistently. They owned pieces of companies that paid them money every quarter, regardless of whether the stock price went up or down. This sounds obvious when I say it out loud. It is obvious, but it took me losing $29,000 to actually hear it. Let me explain the difference. Because this is the core of everything. When you buy a stock hoping the price goes up, you are speculating. Your return depends entirely on what someone else is willing to pay for that stock tomorrow. You control nothing. You know nothing about what tomorrow looks like. When you buy a dividend-paying stock or ETF, you are investing for income. Companies like Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola. These companies have paid dividends without interruption for more than 50 years. 50 years! Through recessions, through crashes, through wars, through pandemics, they kept paying their dividends. I found this deeply calming, so I made the decision. I was going to take what was left, $11,000, add whatever savings I could over the next 12 months, and build a dividend income portfolio. No stock picking, no hot tips, no Reddit, just patient, boring, income-focused investing. Let me explain dividends simply, because they confused me at first and I do not want them to confuse you. A dividend is cash. When you own shares in a company, let us say Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola periodically takes a portion of its profits and distributes that money to shareholders, to you, as cash, in your account. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to sell anything. You do not have to time anything. You just own the shares and the cash arrives. This is called a dividend, and the percentage of the stock price that gets paid out annually is called the dividend yield. So if a stock costs $100 per share and pays $4 a year in dividends, the yield is 4%. 4% every year, just for owning it. Now, I did not go and buy individual dividend stocks like Coca-Cola directly, because, and I cannot stress this enough, I had just proven to myself that I am bad at picking individual stocks. Instead, I used dividend ETFs. An ETF is like a basket. It contains shares in many companies, sometimes hundreds. When you buy one share of a dividend ETF, you instantly own a tiny piece of all those companies. Instant diversification. Instant dividend income. Zero stock picking required. The 3 ETFs I focused on, VYM, Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF, holds about 450 dividend-paying companies, yield around 3%, very stable. SCHD, Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, holds about 100 companies with strong dividend history, yield around 3.5%, one of the most respected dividend ETFs available. And JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF. Higher yield, around 7 to 8%, but uses a covered call strategy which makes it more complex. I use this for higher income, but keep it as a smaller position. Now, here is the part that most people do not fully appreciate when they first start. The power is not just the dividends. The power is reinvesting the dividends. When a dividend hits your account, instead of spending it, you buy more shares. Those shares then pay more dividends, which buy more shares, which pay more dividends. This is compound interest, and over time, it is extraordinary. Albert Einstein allegedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. I do not know if Einstein actually said that, but whoever said it was right. So here is what my actual allocation looked like when I started rebuilding. 50% in VYM, the stable one, my foundation. 35% in SCHD, strong dividend growth history, companies that have been raising dividends for years. 15% in JEPI for the higher yield, but a smaller position because the strategy is more complex. Starting capital, $11,200 from the wreckage of my previous portfolio. Plus, over the next 6 months, I added savings from my regular income, about $1,000 a month. Simple, boring, no clever ideas. That was the plan. I tracked everything, every contribution, every dividend payment, every reinvestment. I am going to share the real numbers with you, not rounded up, not impressivified, the actual numbers, because I think that is what you actually need to see. Not a hypothetical, not if you invest X for Y years at Z%, an actual human's actual portfolio with actual imperfect results. Month 1, January 2023. Portfolio value, $12,200. Dividend income that month, $0.00. Why? Because most ETFs pay quarterly. Month 1, you own shares. You wait. Month 3, first dividend payment arrives, $11.42. I know. Try to contain your excitement, but I want you to hear something. That $11.42 made me genuinely happy, because it was proof that the machine was working. Month 6, portfolio at $19,800. 6 months of contributions plus dividends. Quarterly dividend, $63. Month 12, 1 year in, portfolio at $31,400. Monthly dividend average, $37. Month 18, portfolio at $48,200. Monthly dividend average, $214. Month 24, 2 years in, portfolio at $67,000. Monthly dividend income, $431. Month 30, portfolio at $91,300. Monthly dividend income, $788. And today, month 34, portfolio value, $104,600. Monthly dividend income averaged across the last 3 months, $1,400 per month, every month. Whether I work or not, whether I check the portfolio or not, whether the market goes up or down, $1,400 just arrives. I want to tell you about a Tuesday in November. About 14 months ago, I woke up. It was a regular Tuesday. I had not done anything financial the day before. I had not bought anything, had not sold anything, had not checked anything. And I opened my account. And there was a dividend deposit, $312, sitting there, in my account, from nothing I did that day. I sat with that for a minute. $312 on a Tuesday for existing. I am not going to pretend that is retirement money. It is not. But it paid half my grocery bill that month, without me trading a single hour of my time for it. And that feeling, that specific feeling, is what this is all about. If you are listening to this and you are 45 or 50 or 55 and you feel like you have started too late, I need you to hear something. I started this at 51 years old with $11,000 and a very patient wife. In 34 months, the portfolio generates $1,400 a month. If I had started at 45 instead of 51, I would be looking at $3,000 a month right now. If I had started at 40, at probably 5,000. I am not telling you this to make you feel bad about the time that has passed. I am telling you this because the second best time to start is today. And today, you have a choice. Same one I had. Okay. Practical time. Here is exactly what I would do if I was starting today. Step 1. If you have individual stocks that you bought hoping the price would go up, be honest with yourself about why you own them. Are you holding because you genuinely believe in the company? Or are you holding because you do not want to admit the loss? That second reason is called loss aversion. It is a psychological trap. Every investor falls into it. I fell into it. Sometimes the right move is to take the loss, move the money to something income producing, and start the clock. Step 2. Choose 1 or 2 dividend ETFs and start there. VYM and SCHD are where most people start, both available at any major brokerage. You do not need to use what I use, but you need something diversified, something with a dividend history, something simple enough that you will not tinker with it. Step 3. Set up automatic monthly contributions, whatever you can afford, $50, $200, $500. The amount matters far less than the consistency. If you contribute $200 a month for 15 years at a 4% yield with reinvestment, you will be generating over $400 a month in passive income, forever. $400 a month, from $200 a month, consistently, over time. That is one car payment every month, from money that works while you sleep. Step 4. Turn on automatic dividend reinvestment. Most brokerages call this DRIP dividend reinvestment plan. This means every dividend that hits your account automatically buys more shares. More shares means more dividends. More dividends means more shares. You set it up once, then you walk away and let the compounding happen. Step 5. This is the hardest one. Stop checking your portfolio every day. I check mine once a quarter. When dividends arrive, that is it. Because here is the truth. Nothing that happens to the stock price on any given Tuesday changes whether Johnson & Johnson pays their dividend this quarter. The income keeps coming. Ignore the noise. Let me leave you with 3 numbers. If you start with $10,000 and add $300 a month, at 4% yield with reinvestment, in 5 years, $97 a month in passive income. In 10 years, $248 a month. In 15 years, $520 a month, forever, without working, patient, boring, reliable. That is the strategy. Here is what I know. 3 years ago, I lost $29,000 because I was trying to be clever. I read the right forums, I had the right conviction, I had the right confidence, and I was completely, totally wrong. What I have learned the hard, expensive way is that the best investors are not the cleverest ones. They are the most consistent ones. They do not try to beat the market. They do not chase hot stocks. They own income-producing assets. They add to them regularly. They let compounding do the heavy lifting. And then they live their lives. The gold tie is still tight. Jerome is still demanding. My wife is still right about most things. But the portfolio is working. $1,400 a month while I sleep. Let the money do the work. If this video helped you think differently about your money, subscribe. Not because I need the number, because next week I am going to open my actual brokerage account on screen, show you the exact holdings, the exact percentages, the exact dividend schedule, every single holding, and in the comments tell me your age and whatever you have saved right now. I will personally reply to every single comment with what passive income looks like for you specifically. In 5 years, in 10 years, in 15, every comment. Donald Cash, out.